No, it's pretty solid. It might be difficult.
This is Veronica Doyle. She's a vibrant, independent 78-year-old living in a retirement community in the Perthshire village of Comrie, not far from where she grew up. She says she's not much of a gardener, but she takes a lot of pride in it nonetheless. It's tiny, but it's packed with colour, much like Veronica herself.
Right, so I think that's enough stuff in there.
Her journey has been remarkable. From challenging beginnings as a war baby born out of wedlock and raised by strict Catholic grandparents, Veronica's life as a nanny took her around the world, caring for babies and children whose circumstances were a far cry from her own.
Amazing stuff. I mean, it's across the board the things I've done in my life.
Veronica says her childhood was a happy one, but it wasn't without its hardships. Her upbringing as an illegitimate child left her with a longing to be needed.
I left school as quickly as I could because I was in 4 different schools from the age of 9. Each school was different, slightly different. I had to make new friends everywhere. And I ended up hating school. And so I got away from it as quickly as possible, which in those days was 15. I love children, and I decided long before, when I got a doll and pram for Christmas, that's what I'd be doing when I grew up. And do it I did. Over the course of 53 years, I pushed a lot of prams. I started off by joining a family in Scotland, not far from my home, and eventually the father got posted to Malta because he was in the Royal Navy. I didn't initially go with them because I'd never travelled in my life before, apart from my house to their house. I was quite scared of going abroad and going in a plane because I'd never seen a plane on the ground before. So, but eventually I braved it and I went there, and I'm very happy that I did because it was an amazing experience. First of all, the country, the island and the climate were amazing, and I was on the beach every day with the children, or most days anyway. When I came back from Malta after 2 years, I met another nanny who became a good friend of mine, and she was going directly to the States because that's where her boss was posted next. So she kept asking me to go, so I went.
Veronica arrived to start her new job in Bethesda, Maryland, outside Washington, D.C., just 3 days after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. These images are from Veronica's own personal collection, given to her by the late Dev O'Neill, who was the official photographer for the House of Representatives from 1952 until 1978.
I was with him from when he was born, weighing only 4 pounds, until he turned 3.5 when he only weighed 20 pounds. Very tiny little skinny guy. He's now 6'4" and about 16 stone. He was, I'm very proud of him. He is a retired colonel in the United States Marines. He's coming here next year with his family to see me, I hope. He still calls me Nanny Noodles. That was his father's nickname for me. Nanny Noodles. Memory lane.
Her work for wealthy families took her from London to Malibu, from the Middle East to Mexico, from Italy to New York. She cared for the children of aristocrats, business tycoons, a film producer, TV personalities, the Abu Dhabi royal family, and even a Rolling Stone. This is the story of a remarkable woman whose life has been dedicated to and indeed shaped by around 130 babies. Some of them just over a few days at the very start of their lives when their mothers needed her most. Others she was with until they went to school, and she remains in contact with them to this day.
So much stuff, fascinating stuff over all those years in my job, and I think, I don't know how I did it now. And this wee village here, you know, that.
Although her relatively brief time as a maternity nurse for one of Mick Jagger's children attracted plenty of press attention at the time, it's the relationships she formed over longer periods as a nanny that stay with her to this day. For instance, this adorable little girl is Lana Faruqi, born in 1985. Veronica first met Lana's mother by chance in a London park on the day that she found out she was expecting Lana. And she was so impressed with the Scottish nanny that she booked Veronica on a retainer to serve as the nanny for her unborn child. Veronica and Lana are still in close contact.
And I worked for lots and lots of different nationalities, finding out as I went along that every baby, regardless of where they're from, likes the same things. Comfort, music, rocking, all of the lovely stuff. And they have been cosseted in what I call their own 5-star bedroom in the womb. Everything they needed right to hand. Anyway, I'd be here all night discussing baby stuff, so I better stop.
Veronica retired to Comrie nearly 8 years ago at the age of 70.
There's so much I don't enjoy about retirement, like as in missing children and missing the life I had non-stop for 53 years. I still don't go to bed till 2 a.m. That's when I do the 2 a.m. feed before I go to bed when I was working, and it's very hard to break the pattern.
After she retired, Veronica worked as a volunteer, helping a family in Perth with their newborn triplets.
Because I've been with them since they came out of incubators at 5 weeks. They're now almost 7. They're just wonderful. And so they're of a joy in my life. Now that I don't have any children to look after, I just entertain them, and they entertain me.
Veronica never got married, and loving children as much as she does, it was hard for her to come to terms with never having any of her own.
I used to stare at pregnant women's stomachs filled with jealousy, but I knew I had to go over that by the age of 35 or go on the road to being doolally, trying to steal one or something. That's how desperate I was to have a baby, just why is she having a baby and I can't have a baby and all that stuff.
After being badly hurt in a relationship in her 20s, she never found the right man to settle down with.
Well, I met a lot of guys that would have liked to have been with me. Not a lot, a few. But I need the chemistry. And if I don't see that chemistry and feel that stuff that goes on when you see somebody you really like, I'm not interested. I don't care how much money he's got or whatever, how many yachts or planes or whatever. Because I lived with that all my life, it doesn't sway me in any way. Nothing to do with money, because if everything else is right, the money's fine. But if you've only got the money and you don't fancy him, what use is that?
Second only to her love of children is Veronica's love of a good party, which didn't always sit well with the realities of life as a nanny.
As you never go out when you do my job, except you're in uniform round the clock, unless you manage to get to bed at all. And so on the day off, which I later, when I was brave enough, would say I want to start my day off in the evening, so I could go to the nightclub and have time in the morning to recover before I go back again on duty. Because it's not long in a stressful job, having 24 hours off out of 7. You know, you need that day. And the other maternity nurses used to say to me, "Oh, you're doing the wrong thing. You must go and sleep." I said, "Go and sleep on my day off?" No way. Out for breakfast, out for afternoon tea, out for everything, out for lunch, out for cocktails, out for dancing, to get the engine all souped up for a next week inside. Yes, I remember in the south of France, we used to go to this amazing place in Cannes. Lovely hotel. There I am this night when everybody's out for dinner and drinks and partying, and you can hear them on the terraces laughing and joking, and I'm in the bathroom washing knickers and socks for the kids, saying to myself, what the hell am I doing here? I should be out there.
Although retirement took quite some getting used to in some respects, Veronica has enjoyed the extra time on her hands to socialise. She loves dancing and describes herself as a real rocker.
And a lot of people are fascinated by the fact that I dance like that at my age. Young people come to dance with me, which is lovely. As you saw in that thing in the park.
One of her favourite events in the village calendar is the annual float parade.
I did love the float. It was my favourite thing for the whole year. On float day, up in that float, going round, amazing stuff, thrown down. I used to buy 35 quids of the sweeties to throw down for the children.
But in spring 2020, something happened that changed Veronica's life dramatically.
The first day I heard them talking about it, when they said difficulty breathing, that was me in with the door locked. Stayed in. Now it's 17 weeks already I've been in. I was watching it all day, every day, and it was on every channel all day. It still is most of the time. I was beginning to get close to panic attacks. So I turned the television off, and ever since then I've only watched news headlines and fun things. No more things to do with virus. Because I was Veronica the wild party animal. She is no more. Because if I went to something, I'd come home and stay awake all night wondering who I might have caught it from. Because I have that kind of nature. It's the worrying about it. Because I've been teaching myself not to worry about it. To do other things and not think about it. And not listen to the hours and hours of talks about it.
Weeks of isolation have provided the normally very active Veronica with a lot of time to reflect and worry.
Life becomes very precious when you get older, and therefore you try to preserve it. Because if I live to 90, which is 11 years from now, my triplets will be 18. I want to see that. At this rate, who knows? I must remember I'm wearing mascara. I'll have panda eyes in a minute.
With her social life massively curtailed from now on, Veronica is having to adapt to a different way of life.
But it looks like we could get better weather for a wee while. If we could just get good enough weather to get them all in. Can't do it anymore because I'm not going to be near people, especially after drinks when everybody's kissing and cuddling and and they will after 2 drinks. Oh, my friend, oh, it's just so, you're everybody's best friend when you've got somebody to drink with, right? Mm-hmm. That's what people go to the pub for. Well, good luck to them. I'm just not going to do it anymore. Only for walks around the village, not into the village, the main part of the village, because all the tourists are arriving now and stopping in Comrie. It's one of the main scenic routes to the north. People will say, oh, this is a lovely little village, let's stop here. And they drop off their virus and move on.
And what about her triplets? Will they come to Comrie to visit?
And I have said, when we're allowed to visit each other, you can come here and we'll have all your favourite things, and I will social distance if that's what's still required, and we can have a lovely afternoon. I won't be doing anything in the winter because I'm sure this virus will still be around. Mm-hmm. Normally, whatever the weather, I would go to Perth to see the triplets and have lunch and coffee and just all the things other people do and buy things I don't really need, you know. That's everybody does. But they're things I want. It's a big difference, what you need and what you want.
Instead of trips to Perth, Veronica will be settling down in front of her TV.
But I have Fire Stick and lots of films. Lots of films. First of all, first on the list is romantic.
She's also a sucker for a good disaster movie, especially one with a happy ending.
My favourite bit is when the three brothers find each other. I'm going to cry. Just incredible.
For now, though, she's taking advantage of the warmer weather to sit outside and chat.
Would you like another coffee?
Veronica loves company. The chance to recount the many tales of her life as a nanny, to talk fondly about the family and friends she has around her. I get the feeling that my visits during the making of this film have lifted her spirits somewhat after the gloom of lockdown. But because she hasn't been out much lately, I thought it might be nice for her to take a socially distanced ride in the village's very own trishaw. However, it quickly becomes evident that my idea of a nice surprise was perhaps a bit hasty.
Hello.
We wondered if you wanted to go for a wee ride in the trishaw.
Oh, no thank you.
No? Are you sure?
I'm quite sure. I haven't been out of here and I'm not going out.
No.
I'll just go around the block. I'm not going to go very far.
Having this sprung on her was clearly upsetting, and despite having spoken openly about her fears on the virus for this film, I had nevertheless underestimated the extent of her anxiety.
I'm just scared. You don't know how lucky you are that I'm consenting to do this. The only place I've ever been is up to the doctor.
In return for her agreement, Veronica states very strict terms.
You know, round the block means round the block. You go any further, I'll be getting off.
So round the block, so I'll go down the street. Right. Well,
After taking a moment to get used to the idea, she eventually warms to it and agrees to take a ride to the end of the road and back.
Oh, he's filming me now.
There we go.
Although levels of coronavirus are currently very low in Scotland, clusters are still emerging and it's far too early to look to the future with any certainty.
I'm away.
excellent. That's great.
And for Veronica at least, the safest place for the time being is at home with her abundance of rich and colourful memories, packed with her exuberance and a zest for life. Her own and the 130 she loved and cared for along the way.
And I go too far, you know.